Do you have a favourite?
I'll probably go with Xerxes' first goal because I just felt relieved for him.
Yeah.
I want him to get going.
It's nice to see that reaction as well, isn't it? Just one place to start today, though. That is at Anfield, where Liverpool were 2-0 winners over Manchester City. The situation is getting worse by the week for Pep and his team.
But it gets better and better for Arsenal, scoring 5 in the first half against West Ham.
5. And things are also looking up for Manchester United under new boss Ruben Amorim. They put 4 past Everton yesterday at Old Trafford. But before we get stuck into all of that, here's a reminder of how things unfolded in Liverpool yesterday. Any better. And that win over the champions at Anfield means that Liverpool have opened up a 9-point gap on second-place Arsenal, a whopping 11-point advantage over Manchester City. Manchester United have broken into the top half for the first time since mid-September, and then there's just 6 points between 2nd and 10th, so we could be shaping up for a fantastic fight for the European places in the second half of the campaign. Still a big Christmas to come as well before that. At the other end of the table, Crystal Palace out of the relegation zone after they picked up a point very late on against Newcastle. Wolves have dropped into the bottom 3 now. And Aston Villa, surprisingly, now down in 12th. They haven't won in their last 5 in the Premier League. The concern for Villa was always whether or not they'd be able to cope with increased European pressures this season. It's not working out for them at the moment. But the big story, of course, was at Anfield. Flolo Hughes and Jen Beattie are with us. What a game. I mean, we'll get to Arsenal in a second because this is now shaping up to be an... Well, it is in terms of the title race. But that game between Liverpool and Manchester City was seen as not a first big test for Arne Slot's Liverpool, but certainly a measure of where City are in this title race. Yeah, it was. And remember, with Liverpool, it's meant to be Liverpool's adjustment season with Arne Slot. But yeah, this is transition. Transition. So I don't know what's going to happen. Like, Feyenoord fans are saying this is without even his team. So... we've got that to look forward to from Liverpool fans. They're going to be unbearable if he gets it going. They've got that banner, you know. Yeah. They have in the Cups called the Unbearables. The Unbearables on it. Excuse me, no, but for 35 minutes, it was a real beating. You know, Man City are really they're not in a great place. But when you look at what Liverpool are doing and people talking about the fact that Liverpool have had that, oh, yeah, it's an easy start, you know, and everybody thought once they lost to Forest, oh, here we go. But they've adjusted, they've won those games, they've got confidence and momentum, and they've got players on top form. You know, players like Gravenberch has come in and he's come in as a player that supposedly they would try for Zubimendi. Didn't come. Curtis Jones's form. You know, Mo Salah going to supernova. You know, the defence as solid as it is. So it really does look very good and ominous, especially, like I said, they didn't have a shot for 35 minutes. Yeah, first shot, Man City. The scoreline is one thing, and the fact that they're 11 points clear of City, 9 points clear of Arsenal is another big thing. But the manner of the victory, do you think that's probably the most significant thing as we look ahead to the rest of the season? Completely, especially for a clash like 2 big teams like that. I think we expected much more, and it was, for me, it was not the scoreline, it was the performance and how they made City look. I don't think anyone has ever seen that, right? We've all seen them lose games, obviously not this many back-to-back, but it's the manner they looked. The way that Man City were trying to build up, Liverpool just made it incredibly difficult for them, and they're one of the teams, you know, you enjoy watching the most, and it was just 100%. The manner in which they lost, it just wasn't a comparison. Yeah, and it's right, he said, there wasn't a shot on target for City till after 35 minutes. There wasn't even in the first 20 minutes a touch in Liverpool's box from a Manchester City player, which is just incredible when you think how much they were pinned back. Yeah, and it was only really when Jeremy Doku came on where they started to try and get things moving, and it didn't really work out for him either because the final ball, the final pass just wasn't clicking. But he was the one who tried to sort of energise, take on players. He was finding space, and that was a moment where the one pocket you saw, OK, if City are going to try and flip this game, this is it for them now. Obviously, we know it didn't happen, but the way that Liverpool dominated in that first half an hour, it could have been a lot worse. And I think what you're seeing from City, which I think is probably the most concerning for a Guardiola side, is just how poor they are out of possession. What a Guardiola side does out of possession is why they're so good. It's their textbook. You know, the way that they press teams, the way that they disrupt them to win the ball back. They're not doing any of the basics right. And I think if you're Guardiola, that's probably one of the most frustrating things, is if you can't do what their core principles are, then where do you go from there? You know, I was going to say, Kels, when you listen to his interview after and him talking about that's it, the reset, we're going to have to... It seems like that's it. He's kind of like drawn a line under what's going on now, because what we're doing, 6 games on the spin now. I think he's drawn like, we're going to start seeing something different, whether that's anyone, if they come in January or
however that's going to pan out. But like, I think from here on is where he's going to change it. But he needs to change this era.
You know, they've done this before, Manchester City, in the 2019-2020 season. People think this is unprecedented for them, and certainly it is, as you pointed out, Jen, in terms of the back-to-back games in which they haven't managed to win. But this time in 2019-2020, there was a big gap between Liverpool and Manchester City at that stage. After 14 games, and it's only after 13 now, but after 14 games, there was 11 points between them. It feels like if they're off it, they're miles off it.
Yeah, but I feel like in that phase, Pep was building, right? He was not long in the job, and I feel like it's the difference between the drop-off that we've seen over the past few years. I think we can't compare that era to now. And for me, it was the pace of the game that was so different, that injection of pace that Man City just couldn't cope with. Liverpool were so much more intense. You know, there's been chat around it being an ageing team, and that, are they in a transition? Do they need to bring up more youth? But it was the difference in intensity and pace that I think was massive to see.
You know the thing as well, Kels, it's the physicality. You've got is it Mateus Nunes was in there with Rico Lewis. You know, that physical, they haven't got that physicality. They haven't got that anymore. And you mentioned there, which is quite interesting, there's nothing coming. We've seen Foden, who, again, he's anonymous at the moment, you know, in respects of being the player of the year last season. You know, there's nothing coming from the academy or the youth setup, so as the fans can have something to look forward to, like say, okay, well, that's going to be the future, but we need to sort this stage out. But like, at the moment, it does feel like at the moment I can't see anyone who's going to play City. I'd fancy them to beat them at the moment with the way that they are. It doesn't seem to be what it was. It's nowhere near what it was.
No, and there needs to be hard work and quite deep work to try and.
It's a good job he announced that he's signing that deal, because if I was a player looking at that situation now and he hadn't signed that yet, there is no way I'm even considering Manchester City at the moment. You know, I look at the Gundogan coming back to Man City and I think to myself, OK, it's an easy one to do because he knows the system, he's an ex-player from there, he knows what to do. But Man City and how I see Man City is continually progressing. You'd have thought that they would have had the Gundogan replacement lined up ages ago. The same with Rodri. They haven't got it lined up. Something's going wrong in respects of upstairs as well with recruitment. Yeah,
it feels as though this is... Because you, as you pointed out, Jen, the last time was they'd won back-to-back titles and they'd broken 100 points, but there was a sense that it was time to rebuild again. So he's done it once, Pep Guardiola. The question now is whether he's got the same resources, because there have been changes at board level, to be able to go and do it again.
Yeah, no, it's interesting talking about players being brought in and players being let go, and you see the likes of Cole Palmer being sold and now him absolutely thriving at Chelsea and seeing what he's done. And I remember training with him as a kid at 15. It's unbelievable. But yeah, it's that transition phase that we're talking about. You know, what is the next step for Man City? Look,
as he's pointing out there to the crowd at Anfield, he's got 6 Premier League titles. Liverpool fans were pointing out that's how many European Cups they've got, and they were sort of giving it back to him. But that was in response to them singing, "You're getting sacked in the morning."
Well, he's not used to that.
Which was funny. Yeah, but nobody thinks... It's funny because nobody thinks Pep Guardiola's getting sacked in the morning. That would be ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's good to see, I think, him challenged, though, a little bit, and see him react, because I don't think he's probably ever experienced anything like that. And it's funny when you see a manager when it's fresh. Yes, exactly, never.
It's like when the goalkeeper, like I'll take say, it was good to. I've heard that this part of Liverpool, people can be like that. In England, that can be.
It felt very rattled, didn't it?
But the thing, he was rattled, and the fact that is just normal for everybody else. But the fact, what I like is that he gave it back. We could see that. I've never seen it before, which was. As soon as it happened, I went, "Wow, look at Pep!"
And then he did it again.
And then he did it again. So he's feeling this normality. That's normality, Pep. It's come to bite.
Yeah. So it might not be there for Manchester City this season. Although we're only in the very beginning of December. There's a lot of football to be played between now and the end of the season. But Liverpool are in a position where, generally speaking, a team who's got this lead would go on and win the Premier League title. I think it's only happened once before with a slightly lower total, where Newcastle had a big advantage and went on to blow that famously at the end of the season against Manchester United. But when you look at the points and the difference that they have at the moment, it's it's suggesting that they're going to be able to go on and do it. Well, it just feels so... nobody wants to call it, though. Why do people not want to call this?
It feels early, Jen, doesn't it? Yeah. It really does feel early, but it's it feels also, for me, for the Liverpool players and the experience they've got in there, that they know what needs to happen now. You know what I mean? Liverpool going to have to lose, 4 games or something, 3, and everybody else is going to have to win. So what's happening now is that no one else underneath Liverpool at the moment can make mistakes. We can't not mention Chelsea as well at some stage. No one can make mistakes at the moment, because then it makes it easier for Liverpool to maybe draw, or if they do, you've got to keep Liverpool under pressure because they know how to navigate this. And it's right, it is early, but this is the time where the players will have clocked into what they have to do.
And it'll be how they navigate dropping points.
Yeah.
We've already seen them lose to Forest, and they bounce back from that quite quickly. But the question will be whether the noise around players' futures, we've already had a lot with Mo Salah, they've navigated that quite well when... That's quite bold conversations to have this early in the season.
Well,
Trent
Alexander-Arnold is instigating those conversations.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's the one who's...
and Van Dijk as well, and Alexander-Arnold.
But they're not talking about it. It's the fact that Salah's talking about it.
If there's another moment they drop points and they don't bounce back, that noise gets louder. That could be a moment in which another team... a space opens up. But that's a lot of variables that have to happen. They have to drop points. There has to be a bit of unrest in the dressing room. Mo Salah's situation has to be prolonged. If they wrap some of those things up, then you would feel that they're in a very confident place to keep moving.
But can I say, though, as well, Flo, coming into this week with the Real Madrid and then City, and then it's Everton next, is it? Everton? People were saying, like even my dear friend Jamie, were talking about Mo as, it's disruptive, he shouldn't be doing it in this week. This is an integral week for us. Mo Salah was excellent in both of those games. This is why I believe Mo Salah's got every right to put it out there for people to see what he's doing, because he's doing the business.
Do you know the other thing I would ask about Mo Salah coming out and speaking like this? Does it indicate to you that he desperately wants to stay?
Probably to me. I get legacy vibes off of him. I get the fact that he wants to just achieve and achieve. It's not a money thing with him, with Saudi, even if... And the fact that...
Is it a longevity thing?
I think
is it maybe a difference in terms of how long his contract is?
I think that's what it comes down to, isn't it? The years that he wants, which is... You have to make exceptions, I think.
And I think it's easier to have these conversations when you're winning and playing well. I think they're looked at differently. I think if you're being that open and public at a time when your team is losing games and struggling, you'd be perceived in a completely different way.
But can you imagine...
If you're saying, show me the money, we're winning loads of games, I'm scoring, and you think, OK, fair enough, that needs to be backed up then.
Because you can imagine, Kels, if they don't have the week what they do have, and then they did lose to Real Madrid, they lose to Man City, and then they go into Everton all shaky, people say that's because of Mo. So he's like accepted the challenge of, I'm going to put it out there, but I'm going to make sure that I'm playing well, so as then people can't argue it. I just think Liverpool at the moment are easily by far in the driving seat, but it is early. That's the only thing I would say. It is early, but like they know what to do from here.
But that's interesting, is that, like you said, there are players in that dressing room who know how to go on a title run, who know how to get it over the line, and actually who know how to get it over the line from this position, as we saw last time when they did win it. The question is whether they could potentially, in this transitional season, go on that run that Flo suggested, where they lose a few games in a row. Could they have a run like Manchester City have had? Could they have the sort of slightly the smaller wobble that Arsenal had before they got those back-to-back wins?
I mean, I think any team is vulnerable to slip-ups, but momentum, as we all know, is huge in football. But I think when you've got leaders like Van Dijk and his calmness and composure and the confidence that those players are showing in that team, must come from the manager, right? Between all of them. But no, I think any team is susceptible to that, but I honestly can't see Liverpool doing that. I think they've been so solid defensively, not conceding many goals, and their press is just unbelievable. Watching them against Man City, they made them look so difficult trying to build up. So I can't see that happening to Liverpool.
It'll only be injuries to key players now. Because I think that mentally they're...
like the goalie?
No, well, not even the goalie, because, again, they haven't even got their main goalkeeper, but the way Quiveen's playing, Quiveen Keller is playing, you wouldn't believe that Alisson could come in and make better saves than what we've seen him do. So, you know, you have to look at it and think to yourself, that's probably the only thing, even if they do have a mishap, like a Nottingham Forest, which we thought, we knew it with Liverpool, Arne Slot's not settled in. Since then, nothing. It's been faultless in what they're doing. And I just believe that they've kicked into a position now where you're going to have to chase them down. They're going to have to lose 3 or 4, I can't see it.
I think I've asked you this before, but it's the thing that I keep coming back to with this is a mental switch for the players between going into a transitional season after a hugely charismatic manager being replaced with another manager who's in his first season, players coming to the end of their contracts. At the start of this season, everything around Liverpool was saying this is going to be a period of adjustment. Just don't fall too far back.
Yeah.
Now they are out in front by quite some way in the Premier League. They're top of the Champions League table as well. It's suddenly a completely different season at the beginning of December than anybody would have predicted in August.
Yeah, but what was really good for Liverpool is that they took full advantage of, in people's eyes, a very start to the season. And when Liverpool lost against Forest, everyone said, I knew it because Arne Slot's trying to get used to it. But then what's happened is, after that loss, they haven't lost. They have been playing better. And then what's happened is that they've come into a season where nothing's really too much expected simply because of a new manager, the changes, what he's going to do, which he hasn't done too many of, and how Liverpool are going to react to that. And what they've done is they've won all the games what they need to win. They've continued to win the games. They continue to get better. And then what happens is that with the experienced players they've got in the dressing room now, and the fact that they've got a little bit of... They've clicked into what we know that they can do when they've done it against City.
It's just whether or not there's a psychological shift in that, in terms of what you're aiming for.
Absolutely is, because now they believe... At the start of the season before, there's no way Liverpool would have thought, with a new manager, we're going to try and win the league. They're going to try and finish in the top four, but the shift comes, Kels, once, like, Arne Slot comes in, all the players are probably worried about what he's going to do. He's not done too much different. He's brought players in that's actually really excelled underneath him. And all the front men are playing very, very well. It's like, it's almost like, this wasn't meant to happen, but now it's happened. No, let's just go with it.
I think they've almost seen it as an opportunity, though, no? A new manager, fresh start. They've not seen any negatives to it. They've not read the narrative towards that. My only thing is, will they start to prioritise a specific trophy? When you're in all 4 competitions, calendar starts to get busier, do you start to focus and prioritise something? And rest players given opportunities if you're at the top, and the gap is that big right now, but will they start to prioritise?
That's brilliant.
It's a really interesting question, because Liverpool have won domestic trophies in seasons in which they've been challenging in the Premier League as well, and fallen just short in the Premier League season. And yet they have used their squad a lot, particularly in the League Cup, and definitely in the earlier stages of the FA Cup, which is why Caoimhin Kelleher can come into the side and adapt so seamlessly, because he's had a lot of football with some of these players. It's just interesting, as you say, how they manage the rest of the season. But one of the things, Flo, that's noticeable about them on the pitch, and certainly in the early stages of the game yesterday, where they were 1-0 up, but it could have been 2-3, maybe even more. There were really clear-cut chances that were missed, or that went off the post, or just wide, or whatever it was. And they look unflustered. That's what I think is maybe the biggest difference in a broad way from the Jurgen Klopp era, where everything was so 100 miles an hour all the time. This one seems to have breath in it.
Yeah, and I think that Ian mentioned that Arne Slot hasn't made too many changes, but he's adjusted things slightly. He's kept the core principles of what Jurgen Klopp wanted to do, which was counter-press and be able to attack in transition really quickly, which is what his team, the Klopp era, did really well. So it's like, why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But then what he's done is have this better build-up play, playing out from the back, bring a bit more calmness, making sure you're winning individual duels, which is huge for Arne Slot, and being really physical. And I think we saw the best out of them against City, because it was really aggressive in all moments, and I think that's where they're going to have that advantage.
They've got so much, Kells, in the armoury to the way that Arne Slot plays now, because Liverpool never controlled midfields. It was very back and forth. It wasn't like, OK, let's suck them on a bit, because look at the pace they've got up front as well. It just seems to make sense, for Arne Slot to play like that. And now, like I say, with Gravenberch, if he carries on like that, he's probably going to be in the running for the player of the season, depending on how Liverpool finish. But Curtis Jones as well, I cannot emphasise how much, and Caoimhin Kelleher, how much they've kind of like almost given a new breath of life to him, because they're like 3 new signings.
Yeah, and Harvey Elliott coming back on the pitch. He's going to be available for Liverpool as well as he continues his recovery. They've still got Diogo Jota to come back. Not really got a date on him, but there's potentially, if they keep everyone else fit, I know nobody's calling it for Liverpool just yet. Is anybody ruling Manchester City out at this stage?
I am, I probably think that there's a lot going on where I can't see what's going to happen from what I saw the other day with the midfield they ended up with, the mistakes that's being made, the mistakes in the midfield, that they're going to be able to turn it round quick enough to then Liverpool to have a poor run, Chelsea to have a poor, Arsenal to have a poor run, for them to then do it. I think that this season for City, I'd be quite confident saying that I don't think they're going to win it.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with Wrighty.
Thanks a lot, Jen. I don't want to be out there on my own.
No, I think the gap is too big right now. I think, you know, if they were losing but the performances were still there, we'd maybe be saying a little bit different. You know, maybe the tide was going to turn at some point, but it's the mistakes and how vulnerable they look defensively that I think is just so out of character. The mistakes that are being made in the, you know, worst areas of the field. So, yeah, I think it's maybe early to say, but I think based on performances and results, that would be an unbelievable job.
That would be the best. That would be his best.
Yeah, I have to agree, and I think there's probably not enough coming back into the team. Rodri injury is obviously long-term, and you look at some of the other long-term injuries they've got, unless they have a phenomenal January and suddenly recruit loads of players, and traditionally no club has a January like that anymore. So I would be surprised if they can have that, plus other teams dropping that many points.
Especially looking at your manager looks rattled as well. You've got the players who not only have to play, they have to turn everything on their head in respect to their form, but mentally they have to change something. And plus you can look at your manager who's got rattled as well. It's great to watch.
Live, we're going to be joined by the Liverpool manager, Arne on the back of this 2-0 victory against Manchester City. Very well done. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. So, I mean, you've had some week, we'll come to that in a moment, but how did you enjoy that today, and how good a performance from your team was that today?
Yeah, I think I've enjoyed two things. First of all, the performance of the team, and second of all, the atmosphere in the stadium.
It was something,
because
wasn't
if the players were on top of it, I think the fans were on top of it today as well.
Yeah, put that into perspective, because even we, who've been coming here for years and years and years, thought that was extra special from the supporters today.
Okay.
So just how did that feel in the dugout as the manager to feed off?
Nah, generally speaking, you're only focused on what City does and what we have to do, because they can cause you so many problems. So you have to keep staying alert all the time. I think it was 10 minutes before the end, even before Virgil make the only mistake of the game. The fans were so loud. At that moment, you felt like, okay, this is something new for me as well. They've been behind us every single game, but this was really massive. But yeah, then Virgil cut me out of it by making a small error. But Cruyff was there to save us.
He was. And at the start as well, I mean, obviously you got the goal after 12 minutes, but the way you started today, Arne, I mean, I think front foot's something of an understatement.
Yeah, but that probably also has to do with City, who wanted to bring the ball out from back. That's what they always do. That's what they're so good at. So if you want to have any chance of recovering a ball, then you have to be so aggressive. If you're not, they play through you so easily. So the only way to press them high is be aggressive. And that's what we were. I think most part of the game, although the second half we had to defend low as well.
Arne, it was an incredible first half, as good as I've seen at Anfield for a long time. In the second half, City had a little bit more possession. Was that a tactic from you to almost sit back and play a little bit more counter-attacking, or is that just because they're a quality team and you had to suffer at certain periods?
Yeah, the last thing. So ideally we would have done the same as the first half. But yeah, you face a team that has so much quality, and I think after we made the substitution again, when Darwin came in, we had that same aggression again and maybe the legs again to press them a bit higher. But yeah, it also comes down to the quality of City. It's impossible to keep them away from your 18-yard box for 90 minutes. But it was a good thing to see, if they were in and around the 18-yard box, that we were still there to defend.
For me, I just think like, do you think you were a little bit worried because at the start of the game your pressing was incredible and you should have been like so 3-0 really, and then it didn't happen, and 1-0 was, I think, a tough score, and there is a moment where I felt like the energy dropped a little bit. You were a little bit worried in that moment, thinking we have to be careful there.
Yeah, you're always happy if you're 1-0 up against City, because that doesn't happen a lot for any team in the world, and also for us not in the last few games. The rain is coming down. But yeah, if you looked at the amount of chances we had, I think 1-0 after whatever period of time wasn't what we deserved. But yeah, there was a lot of confidence in the way we defended as well. So yeah, then again, if we would have scored earlier, the nerves would have probably been a little bit less. But maybe it's also part of this game because I think everybody enjoyed it till the last minute.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just really interested to hear your thoughts. Such an incredible team you've got, you know, Mo Salah, Szoboszlai, these kind of players who can dominate a game like this. But to see Joe Gomez come in, Queeve Kelleher, if you like, understudies in the squad, but I thought they were incredible today. How do you feel getting to know your team, get to know your players, your confidence as a squad? How are you feeling in December?
People once told me that wearing this is a problem for a manager, but not if he holds it.
I know my vacation in life, Arne. Go on, sorry.
No, but that is definitely the strength you need to have as a team that wants to compete at different stages. So we play Champions League, we play Premier League. All these games are so tough. So you need to have a full squad of quality players, and that's what we're having. But you probably also saw today that we only have 5 defenders available for 4 positions. That was also the reason why I took Trent off, because he comes back from a hamstring injury to play him 90 and Wednesday again and Saturday again in the Merseyside derby. So we need to rotate also in that position. But it wasn't a surprise for the Liverpool fans because they saw Joe Gomez playing like this for so many times. And I saw him against Brighton playing like this, and today he was outstanding again. Yeah.
And just very quickly, I mean, I know you don't look at the league table after 13 games, but
we do. But
let's be honest. Could you have dreamt of being 9 points clear at this point?
No, first of all, not because they will be up there again as well. And City, I saw them playing today. Okay, they lost today, but I'm 100% sure that they will compete this season again with us, with Arsenal and with Chelsea. So a long way to go, but it's a good position to have.
Certainly is. Listen, very well done today. Thank you for joining us. You do realise the amount of stick I'm going to get now for holding a brolly for the Liverpool manager.
Thank you.
No problem, Arne. Take care.
Bye-bye.